Hello and welcome to Talking Tactics. How nice is it, after going 8 points clear at the top of the Premier League, to now be discussing our first victory over Real Madrid for, feels like a lifetime for me, but since Rafa in 2009, I think. Yes, they were there for the taking. Yes, they've got injuries, but let's have a look at how we, I'm going to say, controlled and arguably destroyed Real Madrid at Anfield. And how nice is it to say that? Let's get straight into the team selections. Obviously, McAllister and Diaz came in. For Szoboszlai's rested. And yes, everyone we seem to be playing has got injuries. They lost Vinicius, of course. But come on, look at that team. This is Real Madrid, the current holders. What is it? 17 Champions Leagues they've got. And I think, is it something like, might not be that many, but it's over 20 Champions League winners, if you include AC Milan. We've beaten this season in our easy schedule. Everybody you keep talking to keeps saying, not played anybody yet. Not played anybody yet. I mean, when's that nonsense going to stop? Because we've played Real Madrid, Man United, Arsenal, Chelsea, AC Milan, Leverkusen, Bundesliga champions last season, Europa finalists. Whatever you think of the strength of the opponents, I don't know how much stronger it can get. And after Sunday, everyone can just go away with that nonsense. Both teams essentially setting up in a 4-3-3, but there's very different elements to that in and out of possession, as we'll come on to see, and quite a few tactical changes during the game. So, what were the main elements? Well, I think discussing this game and reading some of the comments on the Under Pressure WhatsApp group with Simon and Bart's and Dan this morning, we had a definite advantage in the physical element. We ran more. I think Bellingham was their top player and he ranked 9th or something. Grav was unbelievable physically, but everybody was. And that, as we discussed on the last one, makes such a difference in terms of covering, in terms of driving forward, in terms of on the break, in terms of the defensive element, in terms of pressing. But it started off, Real Madrid were like, we'll go for a press, we'll go for high press. And then we'd drop into that 4 and Gravenberch could go in the hole. And we were looking to build up through that, which happened a couple of times in the first half. But then they kind of adjusted and they kind of went into a kind of a not Southampton deep, but more of a cautious approach to try and cover, which required McAllister to drop in. But as you can see in the first half, which has been the way this season, it's kind of like like in chess where you've got an opening, you don't know what your opponent's going to play. We'll do this one, but I need to see what you're going to do first, and then I'm going to change. And I mean, we're talking about Carlo Ancelotti, who's one of the greatest managers of all time, and has had kind of, apart from the Ramos nonsense, kind of had our number. So, yes, we controlled the first half, couple of big chances. But it was one of those games where we were kind of feeling each other out. Look at that, Real Madrid. 4 virtual non-shots. I mean, 0.1 XG from 4 shots tells you all you need to know. They had about a 2.5% chance of going in. So we basically controlled Real Madrid in that first half without really breaking them down. Though, as I say, we had 2 big chances and missed them both. But it's just the switches. It's our pressing intensity. Again, it wasn't as high, but you could criticise Nunes to an extent for some of the solo pressing I noticed he was doing. But defensive control over a side with that level of attacking talent, and don't let anyone tell you, they're unbelievably weak now. They're not. Look at the players they've got. But it's what the managers, both managers, because Ancelotti changed his, kind of a nuanced change to drop a bit deeper, but then McAllister starts dropping, looking for the ball when Grav had 2 or 3 players on him. Jones was absolutely imperious again, kind of in the Szoboszlai role from the Southampton game as a 10, but again, and we'll come on to Robertson later, but Robertson were kind of offered a lot of insight in his post-match, despite on ESPN, while he was criticising Carragher non-stop, which is hilarious. But he said the difference in roles in individual matches is one of the key differences that he notices compared to Klopp. So we used to have 2 bombing on wing backs, basically, with Robertson and Trent. But he says now he's sometimes staying deeper against certain opponents, which would be their right hand side forward, depending on who that is, depending on what pace they've got, depending on how they set up. Sometimes he's dropping deeper. Sometimes he's going on the outside. Sometimes he's cutting in on the inside. Sometimes he's making deep runs. Sometimes he's looking for passes. And it's that difference. And that, again, to me, is what's happening with our midfield. Depending on the individuals involved, they all seem to be able to play. It's like you've got, like, I don't know if this has been a thing, but it's like you've got 3 roaming 6s, roaming 10s, roaming 8s at times. The opposition are struggling to pick up where they're going, but their movement and ability on the ball, to keep the ball, to keep possession, is helping us have that level of control. So there's a second half, but we'll come on to that later. As I said, not a lot happened in the first half, but in the second half, it changes it. And when you're breaking down Real Madrid, if you look at this was the Bradley header that we had from a McAllister ball over the top. This is what you have to do. You have to work them to get space. And obviously their markers are going to be involved in looking at our forwards. So Salah, Nunes, Diaz. Of course they are. But then when you've got Conor Bradley making that run, they don't know where it's coming from. It's hard to anticipate. It's hard to track. And when you've got McAllister playing such a wonderful ball, obviously Bradley should do better. But that's the difference. You're working them more. As you saw with this one as well, both players involved again. It started on the left-hand side with Robbo and Curtis. But if you look at the amount of players we've got there, committing players forward, it's on the edge of their box, and it's what, 8? You've got Grav drop deep there, but you've got 8 versus 9. So they've got the extra player, but they've got 4 players basically doing nothing on the edge of the box. And that's what helps when Curtis gives it to Mac gives it first time and makes that run. And again, if a midfielder's coming from deeper, it's hard to track. And as Bart was saying on the UP group, there was a definite, the shot is unbelievable. The shot Courtois is hard to beat, but the 1-2, the touch, the superb weight on the pass leaves Mac in that situation. And even if he doesn't beat Courtois there, look at our two players in they don't know where they're going. They've tried to go 2 on Mac, and his shot goes between the legs. But we've got 2 players there, one midfield, one forward, backing it up in case the keeper just tips it out. It's committing those players. And then we go 1-0 up. And you have to enjoy. Again, Robbo was talking about it. Was it a soft pen? He said it was a soft one. I thought, he's got a touch on the man and it's clear, but we've got a goalkeeper who just saves all the pens. Seemingly, just if we've got a penalty, unless you're scoring off the rebound, unlucky mate, you've got a .76 shot and you're not scoring. It's moving away from the tactics for a second. Some of the images from this game, just search it on social media, but there's one where this is the Conor Bradley tackle on Mbappe. Oh, what a challenge. But what an image. And then there's the one where Van Dijk puts him, you could see on his ass, but the photo I've seen, it's on his head with his legs in the air. Anyway, that's a side note. But moving on to it, obviously the penalty was saved from Madrid. And it's a crucial game state thing, we're 1-0 up. Possibly should have been more. Looking back at the second half stats, there you go. We had 2 big chances in the first half and 4 in the second. So that's 6 big chances. We missed 5 of them and beat Real Madrid 2-0 at home. I mean, yes, they missed their 2 big chances. But the difference between our defensive restriction of our opponent and the attacking high quality chances we are creating is, I think it's 20 games. I think we've 19 of them. I think we've won on XG. It's a horrible phrase, and you shouldn't ever use XG as a measure to see who's won a game. There's so many different factors involved in that, but on that base level, 6 big chances, we missed 5. They had 2 and missed them both. 2-0 is more than a fair result, more than a fair reflection of the game. But back onto what I think is one of the best elements of our second half performance is the bravery. You've just been talking about the Bradley sliding tackle that was perfectly timed. Nicks the ball off Mbappe again. And look at the difficulty in where we are situated here. But everyone's offering for a pass. He's got 3 options there. He's in such a tight position, he's only really going to find Diaz. But you wouldn't be surprised to see Conor Bradley do a little Cruyff turn there and put Mbappe on his ass again. And then Diaz drives through, and we've gone. And because they're 1-0 behind, they've committed 7 players. It doesn't mean it's easy for Mo. He has to go into a pace, a level of speed where a lot of people have said he's dropped off with his sprints and his pace, but it doesn't seem to in this situation. Diaz plays a perfectly timed pass, and then Salah, is it Rudiger, turns his man inside out, twisted on the inside, wins an absolute stonewall pen. I remember discussing this with Dan and Si on UP in the 1920 season before COVID. It's how many tools have you got in your tactical setup to hurt an opponent? Real Madrid are quite a small side. They're not as physically dominating as us in this game. So that gives you set pieces. You can defend their set pieces, and your attacking set pieces are going to sometimes come to fruition. You've got the McAllister chance for Bradley. You're working the ball, you're moving him about, you're looking for an opportunity for someone to run from deep and be hard to track. So that's breaking down a deeper block. You've got this. Madrid had the ball, Mbappe had the ball near our corner flag. Bradley wins it, and we go straight away. Bang, bang. Diaz drives, plays a pass. Salah wins a pen on the counter. You've got a slower build-up for the first goal. Working it, going down the left. Jones drifting. And then going into the box with Núñez for the rebound. And that's all on the floor. Working the ball, brilliant movement, lovely touches, lovely vision. Players coming from midfield, difficult to mark again. We've got players like Gakpo and Szoboszlai and Trent. You could even throw Curtis into there now, and Salah. Even Diaz, obviously, he's done it. Who are good from outside the box. Again, I'm not sure people are good at shooting from outside the box. Is it a skill? Some people would say yes. Some statisticians would doubt the element of skill because of the frequency of goals from outside the box, but they're brilliant at shooting sometimes. Núñez obviously has done it as well. It's just, if you combine an array of attacking tools with the ability to restrict the opposition when they're attacking you with such consistency that we have this season. Southampton had 3 big chances against us, but very rarely conceding more than 2. I used to say a perfect clean sheet is not conceding a big chance, not conceding a shot on target, and no defensive errors. In more than 10 games this season, we haven't quite had that, but the opposition are being restricted to 1 big chance that's sometimes debatable. Less than 1 XG, no defensive errors, and 1 or 2 shots on target, often from outside the box that the keeper just could chest down. So it seems like the perfect combination of tactical efficiency. And then look at that. I wonder how many passing networks you've seen when we've played Real Madrid where ours just looks structured. We've got this in this game, again, different to Southampton. There was a lot of focus down the left, and we're going to come on to Robbo. And if you look at the ball progression, passing and carrying, it's very different from the Southampton game because it's 2 defenders this time. But look at Curtis there. He's got both. I think it was 95% his passing accuracy in this game, again, from over 50 passes. But like Grav, and even to an extent McAllister, but more those 2, they can get the ball in a tight situation, turn and drive, turn and carry the ball, but they can also pick out a pass. You saw Grav against Southampton. Curtis in this game a couple of times. McAllister with the Bradley chance. There's that variety, that ability, and in our weakest level of midfield, again, I touched about in the last one, you had Henderson and Fabinho towards the end of their stints with us, who were kind of predictable, didn't have the legs, didn't have that creativity and vision and application to pick out the passes that we're seeing this season. The contrast is absolutely free for all to see. You can, if you haven't seen that, and if you're still say defending that midfield in there last season, no idea. But look at Madrid. What is that from Madrid? That's the pressure we're putting on them. They're working it in a 4. You've got Modric and Bellingham trying to pick out where they're going. It's deep. The connections are predictable. The chances that created from that are limited. I saw Barca destroy Real Madrid at the Bernabeu, so I'm not going to say it's not happened. But it's a joy to watch us do it. And I just love that balance between ours. You've got your two centre backs high. You've got Robbo. We are using that left hand side. In the last couple of games, we've used it more than the right, and I don't know if it's absolutely. You'd think it is, but Mo and Bradley have had. Well, Bradley had a kind of different role against Southampton, but in this game, you saw him making those late runs. You saw the effectiveness of Mo to win that penalty. There were another couple of counter-attacks in the first half, just like the final ball didn't work. But it's that rotation in midfield, and then Núñez even dropping deep to try and link play. It didn't have a great game, I'll be honest. But he caused Madrid problems and headaches. I think it caused me a headache if I was his manager as well, but that's a different story. And there you can see the danger zone, losing the ball in the danger zone. Two of ours led to a shot, and none of Madrid's did. The high turnovers are kind of similar, but this, unlike that Southampton game where Courtois is good on the ball, Real Madrid are obviously going to be unbelievable on the ball. Against Southampton, we noticed weaknesses in their decision making, building out, and kept putting pressure on them. We didn't need to in this. There was occasional moments, but we didn't need to do that. And then you've got Robertson, and look at the expected threat, taking the ball, giving us progression via passes, and then carrying as well. Winning the ball back. And it was nearly double the passes that Bradley had. So clearly that suggests that was the intention. And looking at the XG, if you're asking me, what did Real Madrid have? A good 10 minutes maybe before their pen. I mean, I didn't expect it, but when you're watching it, we went 1-0 up, and I was watching it with my son and then going, even if he scores this pen, I still think we'll get a winner. The underlying stats suggest that as well, with 6 big chances compared to 2. They offered very little threat. What was their XG is in the second half? 1.12, so 1.2 in total, and 0.76 of that. So less than half an XG was created by Madrid in open play. I mean, how often do Madrid play a game of football and have half an XG in open play? It never happens. It never happens. And if this result could possibly contribute towards Madrid going out of the Champions League, imagine if they do. Oh, with the setup that we've got in the Champions League this season. Now, as discussed before, obviously the penalty miss from Mo as well. The attacking tools we've got were illustrated with our second goal as well. Real Madrid were vulnerable physically and height-wise, which Paul Tompkins has done lots of analysis on how important it is on set pieces in particular. It's obvious, but it's true. You can have your Tim Cahles who are great in the air, but in general, aerial duel win rate is correlated with height, obviously. Madrid didn't have that. So we had a well-worked set piece, and you moving the players about, and Gakpo scores. But it's the work initially, and then the cross from Robbo. It's the tools. And I never thought ever in a million years at the start of this season did I, and if anyone did the line, maybe Hughes and Edwards can claim it. But if anyone thought we would be looking like such a complete side as we did in 1920, and surely this is getting to a stage where it's the best ever start from a new manager for a top side in one of Europe's top 5 divisions. It's getting to that stage now, where if I was an opposition analyst trying to give my team the flaws in Liverpool's setup, I would struggle to. I'd press Canate on the ball, but we seem to have players who are giving him options all the time. Bradley's good at it, Trent, obviously Virgil, and both our keepers are absolutely world class on the ball. And then you've got Grav or Mac or Curtis giving us options. Robertson, run at him. He's not got, I don't know, the same world-class defensive reading of the game, maybe, or physical attributes to be able to do what he used to do, but his performance yesterday would suggest different. I'm struggling. Invite a press with Núñez, because sometimes he presses on his own, which is the worst kind. But there isn't any. And then I'd have a big, long list of what our potential threats are. How would you break us down? How do you... Forest, I'll tell you what, Forest in the second half were unbelievably well organised. And having that discipline to prevent us creating chances. Some of our decision making on the ball in the attack in the final third was average. But Forest had such a high level of discipline in that second half, and it's one of the only times we've been nullified this season. But overall, put it in the comments. What? Don't. No, but what are our weaknesses? The only ones I can see at the moment, and again, it's Simon and Phil Barts were discussing it in the group. If, and I don't think he is now, but if Canate is out, if obviously Tsimikas is out, Trent's been out, Alisson's out, Grav's done a huge amount of minutes this season. I think he's past his career average. A lot of our players are kind of going towards red zone because of lack of rotation and injury crisis. It's the minutes and the legs of the players that have played a lot this season is my only worry at the moment. I'm not interested in signings in January. It doesn't. A midfielder, maybe a left back if we get one. I don't think it's essential, and I don't think it'll stop us having a worldly season, winning one, maybe 2 major trophies. We're 100% in the Champions League with arguably the hardest fixtures. We're 8 points clear at the top of the Premier League. Hopefully we play the under-9s in the League Cup. We won't, but I'd like to see 11 changes. Give Alisson a game. But it's just, we will see, and we've got a huge game on Sunday, obviously, against Man City. If we don't lose that, it's hard to see us not winning the league. If we get fortunate and Canate is not out, because obviously we've got Gomez and Kwanzaa to come in, but having Trent come back from his injury, Tsimikas as well, Robbo, it's a lot of minutes for him, and his engine isn't what it used to be. I'm trying to think of weaknesses and flaws, and the fact I'm struggling, the fact Slot seems to be able to impart tactical changes against all opposition in every game, and how the contrast, and in the next pod before Man City, I might look into it, the contrast between our first and second half attacking creativity suggests he was often a criticism of Klopp. Let's not forget that. We had a lot of late wins, but across his whole tenure, was it the tactical control? Was it his charisma? Was it the energy? Was it obviously the subs in his last season had a lot of impact, but I think it's fair to say that Slot tactically reads a game better than what Klopp did. And you might all argue and might argue with that point, but and I'm happy to listen to your thoughts on it. But it's as perfect a season up to this point as we could possibly have imagined. We've just beat Real Madrid for the first time since 2009. Please don't get hung up in transfers. Enjoy it. Savour it. We might have that parade that we were fucking this obviously for reasons that were out of the control of the football world. But that parade, if we win a major trophy this season, is going to be... I can't believe I'm getting that done. I can't believe I'm talking about it. One game at a time, that's what they say. Cliches, let's have them. Anyway, see you on Monday.